Beyond the Fog is a 6-week online program taking place on Zoom for midlife women. I've not got an age range particularly, but if you identify in that sort of realm, who are wanting to use art and find some other ways to express themselves and improve their mental health and improve their confidence. So I'm an art therapist as well as an artist, and coaching skills and lots of things that weave into this. And the thing about art is that not only is it a fun thing to do recreationally, it's also really good for mental health overall. It's really good for confidence building. It's really good for physical well-being, increasing memory function, gaining clarity, for emotional regulation. So when people are struggling emotionally or mentally, when they've maybe hit a point in their life, which a lot of people in midlife identify with, this experience of feeling that things have changed, and changes in hormones can impact on that. A health issue can have a similar effect. A change of career, a loss, if there's been a bereavement, that can have a similar sort of impact. Starting to question yourself and question the world and question your purpose and lose a little bit of confidence, really. So this is the idea, to then find a space where there's the creative activities and the art activities take a strong hold, like take centre stage, shall we say, and then space around that to process, to write down things, to record things, to have that support, to be fully supported wherever you are, whether you are new to self-development and new to the idea of reflecting on what's going on for you, thinking about your values and your beliefs and where you're heading, what direction you are heading in and what your purpose is, or whether you maybe have a lot of experience but maybe wanting to go a bit deeper and wanting to explore things in a group where you can reflect on ideas together, or where you can maybe see things through a different lens because of that additional impact of the art part of it. So we've got 6 sessions online, and they will be a combination of some coaching and some art making. So a bit of art and talking together, and depending on the needs of the group, I'll offer as much structure as needed. We can do it as quite an informal discussion with specific themes, or make it more of a hot seat coaching type thing. And it purely depends on the group, and this is what's important to me as an art therapist. I don't have a set script as to what I do each week, although there are themes that could be useful depending on the group, but I'm responsive to who's there and what sort of things might be important. So we've got those sessions, and then you are encouraged to do things in between the sessions. So we've got the art part as a really huge part of this, because a lot of people that I work with might come to an art therapy session, and then in between their sessions with me might not necessarily make any art. And then there's people who are artists, and then in their art they might be working more of an aesthetic thing, thinking about a particular project. So the art making is more about reflection, so carrying on with those projects in between, as well as working towards your goals, as well as having time to reflect and time to notice things. So I'll be encouraging you to notice what might be going on in your mind. If you've had any triggers, sometimes I get triggered out the blue, other times I sort of anticipate something's going to bother me, and I might put something in place to avoid that. sometimes I know it's going to bother me and it bothers me, and it's just like, I knew this was going to happen, and lesson learnt again. So it's not about being perfect. I also plan on doing some check-ins with people individually each week. So this could be as simple as a quick call, or just filling in the questionnaire, those questions that I'm going to send to you. So some people don't really like writing down a check-in, they'd rather have a conversation, and that's absolutely fine. And the whole point of that is to keep you accountable, to have that accountability, to touch base with you if you said you were going to do something and you didn't. Is that because you need like a bit more encouragement or need a bit of support, or is it that it's not really what you want to do? So we've got those check-ins in between. And then as we're going through all of the 6 weeks, the aim is for you to start to notice anything that you want to sort of do moving forwards, anything that you want to be more of, to do more of, or to do less of, and actually coming out of the other side feeling that, of course, I could promise like a massive transformation here. I could say start off feeling really burnt out, and after 6 weeks you're going to be all magical and empowered and, I don't know, stepping into like the infinity and beyond. But the reality is that in 6 weeks you can process things, you can start to see things in a different way, and it's possible to achieve a lot. However, having that expectation of a massive radical change is unfair for me to promise that, because there's so many layers to our well-being and so many different things that do influence. So my hope is that you feel that shift and you feel good for having prioritised your own needs, even if it's just for 6 weeks. And actually, like lots of these stories say, I'm not there to sort of teach people how to make art, or I'm not there to tell people what to do, but there to hold the space. So if I were to just give you all the things to do, then you might have some strategies to use during the 6 weeks, and then at the end go, well, none of these really apply to me. I'm not really sure what works, sort of thing. Nothing applies to me and I don't know what to do. I still feel a bit lost. So even if you've got like one really interesting, good thing that you take from that you then use consistently, then these bite-sized things can really, really help. So this is what the structure and the benefits really are. I've called this Beyond the Fog because of my own personal experiences being thrown into that sort of medical menopause when I was having treatment for uterine fibroids back in 2013, about a year before I had my hysterectomy. So I know what it's like to suddenly have drops of estrogen. It's like all of a sudden I have no estrogen, and I had all of, literally, name all the perimenopause, menopause symptoms, name them all, I had them. And I remember there being a heat wave and I had like the hot sweats. I remember just feeling like so foggy, and a lot of that happens still now. But at the time I was just feeling really out of my comfort zone because I had to cancel a lot of stuff that I would have just done naturally. I would have just found not easy as such, but just I would have just shown up to do races, and I had to cancel all of those, and I found that really frustrating, found that really upsetting. And actually now I'm wanting to help people to be able to see that even if they are struggling with something, even if they have a health condition that is left them exhausted or left them with a lot of self-doubt, questioning who they are, lack of confidence, they can still step forward into a new positive future. So the framework that weaves into these 6 weeks is of course a new pace, which is what I called my podcast and what I talk about all the time. A new pace being that idea of stepping into a new pace every hour, every day, not just like at the start of a month or a new year. You can reinvent yourself. You can choose to wear a different colour top, for instance, as a tiny thing. You can choose to drink coffee instead of tea, or vice versa. You can choose to step out and listen to different music. You can choose a new identity rather than thinking, well, I've always been like that. I've always been an introverted person, for instance. I can't possibly ask for something. Or, there's so many things like that. You can choose to do things. You can choose new hobbies. You can step into a new life, a new version of you. There's lots of conversations about sort of nature nurture. What's me at the core, and what's a result of my experiences. And some of those ideas about, I just mentioned, being an introvert, some people might be thinking, well, that's just who I am. It's like, it could feel a bit dismissive to say, well, you can do whatever you like, sort of thing. And what I was meaning with that is that it's about you choosing to do the things that align with you, rather than feeling squashed and limited. You can choose to expand your experience. And leaping back to the art stuff, it might be that you work from a tiny little picture like this and then decide to do a really big canvas. Suddenly you might go, well, I'm just going to do a big canvas here like that. And it might be that you've never used a certain material before, and you choose to do it. So stepping into a new pace, I know that taking time to pause is really, really helpful for me. And I know so many people who have said, actually, I come to my workshops and they've said, I barely had time to even think, but you've given me a chance to just be me, and literally to pause. And within that, it's not, pausing isn't about relaxing. It's not, of course you can relax, of course you can rest. And it's about reflecting. It's about kind of going, okay, right now I'm pausing. I need to just take a breather. I need to review where I am. I need to, a bit like crossing the road, we pause at the side of the road and then we go. We deliberately do those things. So taking time to pause, act, create and empower throughout your life is so important. And I am, of course, biased, and there's so many different benefits to having that balance, that balance of acceptance and change of, okay, this is where I am, rather than thinking, oh, I feel so bad for where I am and not doing anything about it. You go, okay, even though I am not happy where I am, I'm grateful for some of the things in my life, and I'm not happy where I am, and so I'm going to take action to improve things. So I'm going to step out my comfort zone to improve things, or I'm going to do the small actions to improve my life. That might be about, I might pause in between those actions. Hi, Lou. So this is why I wanted to include a new pace framework in my 6-week program, because life comes in waves, ups and downs. There may be time during the 6 weeks where you think, actually, I need to be quite cautious here. I need to lean into this just bit by bit to get started. Or it might be that you say, look, I'm on it with this. I'm ready to go. I've got myself some paints. I've got myself some canvases. I've literally found a big space in my house somewhere. I've moved my desk or whatever it is, and then get cracking, and then lean in and out of that. So I love my sketchbook, and I'll take my sketchbook on holiday places, or it's been up mountains and stuff, little ones. And then sometimes I'll do things in the sketchbook just watching TV. Other times I'll be like maybe even doing just 5 minutes on a big canvas splatting paint, much like the videos that you've seen if you've been following me and keeping up to date these videos where I've been covered in paint. That didn't take long, and I'm not satisfied by that as a piece of art as it looks. However, as a experience, it was fun to do, and just a little funny thing to do to be able to generate some content, quite frankly. But yeah, I wanted to come on. The whole point is to encourage you to join. I'm still waiting for my oh yes, I know, I'll message you about that. To join my group, to ask any questions that you've got. There is, everybody that joins will be having a one-to-one before, hopefully, ideally before the sessions start, before the group sessions start, so that I can help you to get started, to work out your goals, to think about the sort of things that will be useful from me. And you can choose to upgrade to have some extra one-to-one sessions during this, either during the 6 weeks or in your own time. You might want to spread them out further, and that means that you can have somewhat deeper experience, or maybe more of an expansive experience, depending on what's going on for you. It might be that you see it and choose it to be art therapy sessions and have a particular thing that you want to talk about and make art about with me, holding and witnessing that for you. Or it might be that you want to come in and really pick my brain as me wearing my artist hat, wearing my art teacher hat, and really get double down on some of the techniques so I can really teach you some of those things. And that's what's unique about my work, that I don't know there are many art therapists who also do the art techniques, and there's a balance with that, because it certainly isn't about what the art looks like. However, if a technique stops you from expressing something within your art, I'm not going to get in the way of that, so I'll teach you those things. But right, anyway, thank you for watching, and speak to you soon. Take care, bye bye.